Hi, I'm Jake, 20, and I just watched my entire family get cut off financially. Because they stole my car. The one my 75-year-old grandmother bought me after seeing the hell I'd been putting myself through every day just to get to work. It was supposed to be a gift. It ended up being the nuclear button that detonated everything we pretended was a family. I wake up at 5:30 every morning. Not because I love the sunrise or I'm one of those grindset weirdos, but because that's when I have to be up if I want to catch the 6:15 bus downtown. My job starts at 7 sharp. Marketing assistant. Entry level. I make $35,000 a year, and somehow I'm still the only person in my entire household who works. You'd think that'd earn me some kind of respect. You'd be wrong. See, everyone else in the house, my mom, my dad, my 24-year-old sister, have been living off my grandmother's money for years. Ever since I was in middle school. She sends them $3,000 a month to cover rent, bills, food, all of it. None of them have jobs. None of them even pretend to look. My sister spends her days putting on makeup for hours and going out with her boyfriend, who's unemployed in that mysterious, vague I do distribution way that smells suspiciously like pyramid scheme. And me? I catch that crowded bus every morning, stand shoulder to shoulder with strangers who all look dead behind the eyes, and head into work like a chump. According to them. You're wasting your youth. My mom tells me. You're missing out on life. My dad just shakes his head in that disappointed dad way. No words. Just that grimace like I just told him I wanted to be a mime. My sister once said, in front of me, to her boyfriend. She's just an assistant. Like bottom of the ladder stuff. They laughed. Full, unfiltered, like it was an actual joke laughter. I went to my room, closed the door, and stared at my reflection for 10 full minutes trying to remember why I was doing all this. But I always came back to the same thing, my grandmother. Not the wealthy version they all leech off of. The version she was at my age. The one who started with nothing. No help, no handouts. Just work ethic and an iron spine. She built an empire from scratch. That's the version I idolize. She visited recently. Unannounced like she always does, because she likes to see the truth. Not the stage play my parents like to put on when they know she's coming. She saw the truth all right. She asked me to explain my schedule. I walked her through it. 5:30 wake up, 6:15 bus, 7 o'clock at my desk, skipped lunches, late nights, vending machine dinners, bed by 9. She listened. Then she turned to my parents and asked why no one had ever helped me get a car. You know. Since they had her money. My mom stammered something about teaching responsibility. My dad said, we didn't want to interfere with her independence. I wish you could have seen her face. I've never seen her angrier in my life, but she didn't explode. She just nodded. 3 days later, I came home and saw it parked out front. A luxury sports car. For me. And that's when things went from tense to thermonuclear. The car looked like something out of a Bond movie. Deep blue, almost black depending on the light. Sleek. Shiny. Totally out of place in front of our cracked driveway and dying grass. My grandmother was standing beside it holding the keys. She didn't say a word at first. Just extended them to me like she was handing off a crown. My parents were watching from the porch, stone-faced. My sister peeked through the blinds like she was witnessing a robbery. This is for you, my grandmother finally said. For choosing to build something instead of leeching off what others have already made. She didn't even look at my parents when she said, others. She didn't need to. We all knew who the speech was about. I was stunned. Barely managed to squeak out a thank you before she gave me a hug, kissed my forehead like when I was little, and told me to get some rest for once. I wish that was where the story ended. Me, rewarded for hard work, driving into the sunset in my new car, finally free from all that family tension. But no. Because apparently, nothing drives a wedge into a freeloading family like giving the disappointment child a $100,000 car. The resentment started the very next day. At breakfast, my sister said, must be nice getting gifts like that without even asking. I blinked. I had never asked for a car. I had been saving for a used Civic. My mom chimed in. You should really learn to stay humble. That kind of thing can go to your head. And my dad? Hope you're ready for the responsibility. Luxury cars come with high expectations. I could practically smell the bitterness wafting off them like bad cologne. But I tried to focus on the good. The car was life-changing. My commute dropped from 40 minutes of standing on a crowded, sweaty bus to a 15-minute drive listening to whatever music I wanted. I showed up to work less tired. My boss noticed. He pulled me into his office and told me, "You've been sharper lately. Keep doing what you're doing." I didn't tell him the secret was heated seats and 1 extra hour of sleep. But the house? Things got colder by the day. Conversation stopped, including me. My sister wouldn't look me in the eye. My dad would walk past without a word. My mom just sighed a lot. Then it happened. One night, my mom sat me down. Voice syrupy sweet. "Your sister's got some big job interviews coming up. We were thinking, wouldn't it be nice if she had something professional to drive?" I stared at her. She stared back like she hadn't just asked me to hand over a car I didn't even ask for. "Just for a few weeks," she added. "Until she settled." "No," I said. Instantly. It surprised even me. I said it again, louder. "No." That's when the mask slipped. "After everything we've done for you," my mom snapped. "You can't do one small thing for your sister?" My dad jumped in the next morning. "I didn't raise you to be selfish," he said, like I'd just stolen from a charity. Then my sister started crying. "I'll never get a job without it," she said. "Please. Just for a little while." I held out for 10 more days. 10 days of emotional warfare. They threw every guilt trip, every passive-aggressive insult, every manipulative trick they had at me. Until finally, my dad said, "If you can't support family, maybe you shouldn't live here." And just like that I broke. I handed over the keys. The very first night my sister took the car, she used it to go clubbing. Not a job interview. Not a career fair. Not some urgent, one-night-only opportunity to elevate her life. Nope. She rolled in at 2 a.m. with the boyfriend driving and bass-heavy music thumping through the windows like we lived in the middle of Coachella. I watched from my bedroom window as they stumbled out, laughing, carrying fast food bags and zero shame. The next morning, I opened the car door to find ketchup packets smashed into the cup holder, a half-empty milkshake spilled on the passenger floor, and what I swear to God was a lipstick kiss mark on the steering wheel. There was also a scratch on the driver's side door. I stood there in the cold, just numb. I'd gone back to the bus. Back to waking up at 5:30. Back to standing in that overcrowded tin can while she treated my miracle like a party favor. I was exhausted, angry, and humiliated, but most of all, powerless. Every time I brought it up, I got the same responses. "It's just a car. You're being dramatic. Don't you trust your own sister?" She wasn't just using it for interviews, because there were no interviews. That lie didn't even last 2 weeks. By the end of October, she'd stopped pretending. The car was hers now. At least, that's how she acted. The boyfriend even started calling it our ride. I started working overtime. A lot of it. Not because I loved my job that much, but because I couldn't stand being home. Every extra project, every weekend shift, every late night, yes, it meant extra money, but mostly, it was survival. I needed the distance. And every hour spent away was one closer to the day I'd be free of that house. One Friday, after staying until 9:30 reworking a pitch deck, my boss pulled me aside. "You've been killing it lately," he said. "I'm approving a raise." It's not huge, $2,000 a year, but it's something. It was everything. I took that raise like a lifeline. Updated my escape fund spreadsheet. Started applying to better jobs, obsessively checking rental listings even in sketchy neighborhoods. I had one goal now: get out. Meanwhile, my sister posted Instagram selfies from the driver's seat of my car. With captions like, "Boss girl energy." She never mentioned me once. My parents didn't say a thing about it, just kept acting like this arrangement was normal. Like I'd given her the car out of love. I hadn't spoken to my grandmother since the day she handed me the keys. I was too ashamed. I didn't want her to know I'd folded. That they'd worn me down. That I was riding the bus again like her gift never happened. And then came Christmas. She always hosted. My family left early to help her prep. I stayed behind. I had to work Christmas Eve. I told them I'd arrive Christmas morning by bus. 2 hours in transit later, I arrived at her perfect house. Light-wrapped trees, glowing fireplace, wreaths in every window, and there she was, watering her winter plants like it was any other morning. She looked up, confused. "Where's your car?" I froze. She tilted her head. "Why did you take the bus?" Before I could answer, we heard it. The engine. My engine. And down the driveway came my car, stereo blaring, boyfriend at the wheel, my sister in the passenger seat laughing like she didn't just ruin her life. I wish I could describe what it looked like watching a 75-year-old woman in gardening gloves storm across her own lawn like a Navy SEAL on a mission, but I'm telling you now, my grandmother activated a mode I didn't know existed. My sister stepped out of the passenger seat mid-laugh, mid-sentence, and went ghost white the moment she saw her. The boyfriend was still in the driver's seat, tapping on his phone like nothing had happened. My grandmother didn't yell. She didn't scream. She just walked up to the car, opened the door with the kind of calm that says someone's about to be destroyed with precision, and said, "Get out. Now." Boyfriend blinked like she was speaking another language. "Excuse me?" I said, "Get out of my granddaughter's car." He looked at my sister. Waiting for backup. Got none. He stepped out, finally, scoffing like he was the one being wrong. That didn't stop my grandmother from reaching into the car, grabbing the keys, and marching them straight back to me. She handed them over without looking away from my sister. "This car belongs to Jake. It was never yours. It will never be yours. I made that very clear." My parents had come outside by then. Just in time for the fireworks. My mom opened her mouth, probably ready with one of her "You're being dramatic" speeches, but my grandmother cut her off. "You knew," she said. "You all knew. And not only did you say nothing, you pressured him into giving it up. You guilted him. After everything he's done, after the hours he works, after the sacrifices he's made to be something more than leeches feeding off my bank account, this is how you thank him?" Dead silence. "You've lived off my money for over a decade, $3,000 a month. And what do you have to show for it? Entitlement. Laziness. Manipulation. We raised him. My dad tried, which honestly might have been the dumbest possible thing to say at that moment. You raised nothing," she snapped. He raised himself. He taught himself discipline. He taught himself ambition. He is everything I once was, and you tried to crush that out of him. My mom started crying. My sister looked like she was trying to disappear into her own shoes. The boyfriend muttered, "This is insane," and took a few steps back toward the driveway. "Who are you again?" my grandmother asked. "Her boyfriend." "Not anymore." She pointed toward the gate. "Out. Off my property. You're lucky I don't call the police and report unauthorized use of a vehicle." He looked at my sister one last time, realized she had nothing left to offer him, and walked off. She didn't follow. Then, without raising her voice, my grandmother dropped the final nuke. "You have until January 1st, she told my parents, "to find a new place to live. The payments stop today. You are cut off. For good." It was so quiet, you could hear the wind. My mom begged. My dad threatened. My sister accused me of ruining everything over a car. But none of it mattered. My grandmother turned her back, walked inside, and didn't look back once. When the front door shut behind my grandmother, the world sort of paused. My parents stood there frozen on the steps, like their brains hadn't caught up yet to what just happened. My sister still looked stunned, like someone had unplugged her consciousness and forgot to plug it back in. And me? I just held the keys. Still warm from her hand. Heavy. Real. I was still processing the fact that this time, I wasn't going to lose them. My grandmother eventually called for me from inside. I followed her to her study, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive mahogany desk, and one of those chairs that looks like it belongs in a CEO's office because it does. She handed me a cup of tea, then sat across from me like we were about to discuss mergers and acquisitions. "I'm offering you a job," she said, just like that. I blinked. "A job? Senior administrator. One of my companies needs someone young, sharp, and not allergic to hard work." You've proven yourself more than anyone else in this family. Salary starts at $350,000. I'm not exaggerating when I say I almost dropped my tea. She leaned forward. This isn't charity. This is investment. You've been building your own future from scraps. Let me give you real tools. I opened my mouth to protest, to say I wasn't ready, to say I didn't have the experience, and she shut it down immediately. You learn fast. You work hard. The rest I can teach you. Then she added something I'll never forget. You remind me of me. And I don't say that lightly. It was like someone lit a fire in my chest. The next 2 weeks were a blur. My grandmother arranged an apartment, 2 bedrooms, downtown, secure building, quiet. She had movers help me pack. I went back to the family house one last time while my parents were out. But my sister was there. She watched me from the couch as I packed my things into boxes. Didn't say a word until I was almost out the door. Was it worth it? She asked, her voice low. Destroying the family over a car? I paused in the doorway. Looked her dead in the eye. I didn't destroy anything, I said. You did. When you took what wasn't yours and didn't care. When you lied. When you laughed with someone who mocked me. You all broke it. I just finally stopped trying to tape it back together. She didn't respond. Just turned back to the TV like none of this mattered. I walked out without looking back. The new apartment? It felt like breathing air for the first time. It was mine. Quiet. Clean. Free. The first night I slept there, I cried. Not from sadness. From relief. The new job started that Monday. My corner office had a view of the skyline. My new team looked at me with polite suspicion, obviously assuming I was just a nepotism hire. But then I worked. Hard. I led a project that beat expectations by 30%. I earned respect. Real respect. And the car? I parked it in the building's secure garage. Every time I drive it now, I remember what it means. Not status. Not wealth. Freedom. The silence didn't last long. By the end of month 2 in my new job, the text started. First my mom. We miss you. Things are hard now. Can we talk? Then my dad. Family sticks together. Don't let money change you. Then my sister. A full 700-word essay on how sorry she was, how she never meant to hurt me. How her boyfriend was toxic. How she was working on herself. The message ended with, Can you help us? Just a little? You're the only one who can. I didn't respond. I showed all of it to my grandmother over dinner at a downtown Italian restaurant, where the bread cost more than any meal we ever had growing up. She read the messages in full silence, then handed my phone back without even blinking. Block them, she said. I hesitated. That feels extreme. She poured herself another glass of wine. They had years to treat you with respect. They only remember you exist now because they need something. That's not family. That's opportunism. I mean, maybe they've changed. No, Jake. They're desperate. That's not the same thing as growth. I stared at the screen. The messages. The familiar ache of guilt creeping back in, that old reflex I'd been trained into my entire life. Give in, keep the peace, don't be selfish. And then I remembered. I remembered the 2 months on the bus while my sister used my car to go to nightclubs. I remembered the scratches on the door. The fast food wrappers. The day my dad threatened to kick me out if I didn't comply. The years of mockery, of judgment, of headshakes. I blocked them all. And just like that, the air felt lighter. The job kept ramping up. I wasn't an assistant anymore. I was making real decisions, managing real teams. My grandmother brought me into board meetings. She started asking me to prep presentations. She'd correct me when I got things wrong, but gently, firmly, like she actually expected me to improve. You're not here to nod and smile, she told me once. You're here to be sharp. Be sharp. Every paycheck felt surreal. $29,000 per month. Every time I saw that number, my brain tried to reject it. I lived comfortably, but not stupidly. I bought better groceries, went to therapy, finally fixed my posture from years of hunching over keyboards. I even joined a gym. My escape fund transformed into an investment fund. My old coworker, my one real friend from back then, we kept in touch. She came over once a month for coffee in my place, always amazed that I was still just me. We'd laugh about the old job, the vending machine dinners, the insane clients. She said, "You know, you were always too good for that place. They just didn't see it. And now? Someone finally did." Around month 4 I got another update, but not from my family directly. My grandmother's lawyer told her they tried contacting him, asking for help. He politely declined and immediately informed her. "They've been evicted," he said calmly. "Downsized to a cheaper apartment in a rougher part of town. Your father's working security now. Your mother's doing shifts at a supermarket. Your sister's finally holding down a job, call center, last we heard." I waited to feel something. Pity. Regret. Anything. But mostly, nothing. They weren't being punished. They were finally just living in reality. It was almost exactly 1 year to the day. I was walking into a client's office, my client's office, for a presentation I'd built myself, negotiated myself, and was about to land myself. No backup. No inherited contacts. Just my name, my pitch, my work. I nailed it. After the papers were signed and hands were shaken, I walked outside and found my grandmother waiting in the parking lot. She'd insisted on attending, not to intervene, but to witness. She'd sat quietly in the back the whole time, watching me do what she once had to do, alone, decades ago. "You did that without me," she said. I nodded, still half-dazed. "You did that with you." That night, I took the long way home in my car. Windows down, air crisp, city lights stretching out around me like I'd finally arrived at the place I'd been heading for years. Except now I realized, I wasn't at the finish line. I was finally at the starting one. My apartment was cozy now. Real furniture, an actual bed frame, framed prints on the walls, bookshelves with books I'd chosen. I made pasta, poured wine, lit a candle like I was the main character in a quiet indie movie. And I sat down at my desk, my own desk in my own office, to sketch out the rough outline of my first independent business. Because that's the plan. That's always been the plan. And now? I have the knowledge. The capital. The support. The freedom. I never spoke to my family again after I blocked them. Not because I hate them. But because some people only love you when you're small. When you're struggling. When you're controllable. The moment you stand up, grow, drive something better, they shrink back like shadows in daylight. They weren't mad about the car. They were mad I earned it. They were mad I broke the cycle. My grandmother and I still have dinner every Sunday. She tells me stories about her first clients, her first setbacks, her first victories. We laugh. Sometimes she tears up. Sometimes I do. She still calls me Jake. But sometimes, when she's really proud, she calls me something else. Partner. It's the highest compliment I've ever received. And now, every time I put my keys into that car, I remember. It wasn't ever about the car. It was about everything it stood for. And I'll never give that up again. Update. 1 year later. It's been a full year since everything imploded, and I still haven't spoken to my parents or sister. Not out of anger anymore, but peace. Real peace. The kind you only get when you stop setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. My grandmother and I now co-manage 2 of her smaller businesses. She's slowly handing over more responsibility, saying, "You don't need training wheels anymore." She still calls me partner. I still tear up when she does. The apartment's fully furnished now. Not flashy, just mine. I host dinner sometimes. My old coworker comes by. She's still my best friend, and she's building something of her own too now. We push each other. My sister? I heard she left that call center job. Last anyone knew, she was living with a friend, still. Exploring her options. My parents are making ends meet. Barely. I wish them growth. I really do. But I'm not going back. Because the lesson I learned? The hard path. The one where you wake up early, push yourself, work when no one's watching, that path doesn't just lead to success. It leads to self-respect. I built something from nothing. And every day I add to it. I don't ride buses anymore. But I'll never forget what it felt like to stand there in the dark, tired, mocked, alone, and still choose to move forward.